Hello, everyone, and welcome to Off the Record with Judah
and Kirk.
Today, we are talking about probably the best Marvel comic that will be released this year, which is really ironic because it features very heavily a character that is not Marvel's. And that comic would happen to be the Marvel DC spectacular crossover that they both very proudly present to you, which is Spider-Man Superman. And the main story is done by Brad Meltzer and Pepe Larraz. Pepe Larraz's art is excellent in there. And let me give you a little rundown of what else you can find in this tome. You can also find Spider-Man Noir and Superman from Dan Slott and Marcos Martin. Marcos Martin, again, I think there's no complaints about the art in this book.
No.
It's pretty darn great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you have Gwen Stacy and Lana Lang by Joe Kelly and Humberto Ramos, which we'll get to that one. That one's interesting. You have Mysterio versus Superman featuring The Thing from Geoff Johns and Gary Frank, which is kind of a legendary creative team to just have a small story in here.
Right.
Yeah. And then you have Hobgoblin versus Steel from Louise Simonson and Todd Knock, who does the art there. Mm-hmm. Then you have Ghost Spider and Supergirl from Stephanie Phillips and Phil Noto. And then Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and Superman meet for the very first time. And that is penned by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Sara Pichelli, who does a fantastic job on art again. And then you have the story Symbiotes in Metropolis from Jason Aaron and Russell Dodderman. And lastly, but not leastly, you have yet another Spider-Man Superman story, this time from the pen of Jeph Loeb and with art by Jim Cheung, who we recently read Batman Wonder Woman Truth, and Jim Cheung does the final 2 pages in this Spider-Man Superman crossover, and he does the art in there. He's a pretty fantastic artist, all things considered.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, getting into it a little bit, first, I want to remind you all to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, follow us on Off the Record JK on Instagram, and do all of the things that everyone always tells you to do, because we would greatly appreciate it. If you don't like what we have to talk about here, leave a dislike. That's okay. It does totally help us to know what to talk about in going forward. Yeah. But obviously, this is a continuation of we had Superman Spider-Man a couple months ago. We're a couple weeks late to recording this, but
that's my bad.
Couldn't be avoided. Like literally, couldn't be avoided. So, but we potentially will still have going back and looking at the old Superman Spider-Man that was released.
Yeah, we're gonna release.
Long time ago.
I think next month we're gonna take a look at the classic issue.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
In the next 1 to 2 months. So, I don't know that it's on our schedule yet, but we will make sure to get it on there.
It will become a priority shortly.
Yeah, I am actually excited to see that and be able to compare and contrast everything. That'll probably also be like a. Yes, we're going to be talking about that, but we'll also be comparing it to what the Superman Spider-Man and Spider-Man Superman were for this year.
Yeah, because both of the books that we've gotten this year, from this one that came from Marvel and the one that we reviewed last time from DC, are both celebrations of that very first crossover.
Right.
So we'll see how well they paid homage and did all that good stuff. But digging a little bit into this, we pick up with our first story, our main story. We pick up with Superman and Spider-Man being trapped. And so we have a lovely back and forth between the two, and they are trapped, and there's kryptonite, so Superman can't help out, but then they work together.
Yeah.
And then there's just black goo.
And, of course, that's going to be a symbiote.
And, of course, and it's Venom, of all things. So we get, for the very first time...
Super exciting,
we get Superman as Venom, which is super awesome.
That was dope.
They bust out, and they're facing, I think it's Norman Osborn and...
Luthor.
So Norman Osborn and Luthor. So they bust out Spider-Man, or not Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Spider-Man. I didn't mean to say Spider-Man. Spider-Man has to stop Super Venom. I think that's what we'll call him from here on out.
Sure.
And that's very interesting. How does Spider-Man stop Super Venom?
Well, I think it was a lot of... First of all, they were having a lot of conversation while they were trapped. And basically about... while Superman is under the influence of kryptonite, he's not really able to do much. And so Spider-Man is just kind of keeping them from being crushed, Star Wars style, which was mentioned and is a good reference.
It is a great reference.
And essentially, he's just like... There's no way, like Superman says, I used my X-ray vision to scan your muscle density and your bone density and whatnot. There's no way you should be able to do this. And he's like, yeah, but I have to. so I am.
Yeah.
And so essentially, it was a quick reminder of you have to, so you will. And then Superman kind of breaks himself free. There's a really cool image of just his the laser eyes. What are they? Is it
Heat
just
vision.
laser eyes? Heat vision. Thank you. Heat vision to kind of get the Venom symbiote goo off of his face, and then the following page is him doing one of the like thunderclap, which we also see with Hulk sometimes
and
too.
Sometimes Thor.
And sometimes Thor. Okay, I didn't know that. That's cool. Number of heroes will have this thunderclap thing, and he basically does that, and it gets all the symbiote goo off of him as well. And then while Goblin and Luthor are like, wait, hold on, they just punch them in the face.
Yeah,
I think is that just implied? It's just implied that they punch them in the face, but they punch them in the face, and it's well deserved.
It is very well deserved. Yeah. And then we move on to the next bit, which we get to see Clark Kent and Peter Parker together.
Absolutely love this bit.
And I love this next like two little bits are Clark and Peter go to visit Uncle Ben's grave, and we have Brad Meltzer does an excellent job with the dialogue here. Pepe Larraz does an excellent job with the expression. And it's just really wholesome kind of moment visiting Uncle Ben's grave. And then we get another very wholesome moment where Aunt May and Peter go to dinner at the Kents.
Yeah.
And it's really well done.
Loved it.
And this first story is just a really big celebration. It's super fun. They do just a bunch of super fun stuff. Brad Meltzer does a great job writing. It's got heart. It's got whimsy.
Yeah. It's a little under half the page count of this issue.
Yes, it is. Which is, I think the other one was slightly over. I think the backups and the other one were shorter.
Potentially. There was more meat to the backups on this one, though. We'll talk about this in a minute. That doesn't necessarily mean they were better.
That's very true. And I think, finishing talking about the first story, Pepe Larraz's art is excellent. Like, I think he needs to be... I know he was featured on X-Men. I know he's technically the featured artist on Spider-Man right now. His art needs to be featured in a DC book. His art needs to be on the covers of every Marvel title. It's really well done in here. He does a fantastic job, and I don't know. I could not heap enough praise on him for the work he does in there.
Yeah.
But with that being said, do you have any final thoughts on the first story before we dig into everything else?
I did think it was really good. I enjoyed reading it. It was a little while ago now, so I don't necessarily remember like details about it, but I do just remember that I was very happy reading it.
Yeah.
And that I really wanted to read it again. Unfortunately, it didn't come together that I had the time to read it again before recording this. But genuinely, this is just a really fun comic, a really good one to read, and some of the following comics do bring it down a little, but some of them also bring it up a little, and so overall this whole issue is definitely worth the buy and worth a read. So that brings us then to the next story, which was the Spider-Man Noir. I said that a little weird.
And classic Superman story, yeah.
Yes.
No, I think that one is really... I think the art in that one is good. Like, I really like Marcos Martin's art. I know we've seen him before on Absolute Batman. He's done a few issues, and he does a great job here. But it's fun. Mm-hmm. There's a cool shot of Superman recreating the Amazing Fantasy 15 cover, but like, I mean, it exists.
It does exist. It's just that it exists. Nothing much happened.
Yeah, if there weren't words and it was just the art, it would probably go up an entire point in my estimation, which is kind of wild. The words do detract from it a little bit. Yeah,
as I was reading this, I went into it really excited. I was like, okay, Spider-Man Noir. Like, I really want to read that. I want to see, maybe do I want to get into some Spider-Man Noir? And then once I was done, I was like, this probably isn't a good representation of Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah, no, it really is not.
So, slightly unfortunate. I did like, I think highlight of this one was probably Luthor.
Oh, yeah. I like old-timey Luthor. He's great.
Absolutely. But that was about it. And that's really most of what I remember. I did kind of look over it a little bit, and I am right now as well before
skimming a few pages.
But that's kind of it. I just I like Luthor, and the rest is like, eh. So then the next one is Gwen Stacy and Lana Lang, Judah.
Yeah.
I remember, okay, when we covered Superman Spider-Man, there was essentially the same one. It was Lois Lane and Mary Jane.
But that one was so much more fun.
It was,
and we got
because there was actually stuff going
cameo. On. Yeah. Like it was them doing the same thing that they do here, where it's them talking. But there was stuff going on in the background.
Absolutely.
And the artist got to draw a bunch of cool stuff while the writer got to write the similar kind of interaction between
One of the things that I did like about that previous one, though, was those interactions. I did enjoy that we had some gorgeous artwork and some action pieces and Gambit happening in that previous one. But this one didn't have all of that. No. Despite that, I did enjoy the process of reading it just because I thought in this, like, the same praises that I had for the previous one, I also had for this one. But then after the fact, do I remember much from it?
No.
Not really. And I feel like that does speak to how good it was and like how important it was in the whole context of this story.
Which is not very.
It is not very. Again, I do kind of just like they start out basically bragging about their boyfriends and then they move on to those boyfriends coming in and they never realize that they're basically talking about Superman and Spider-Man the whole time. Like, that is kind of fun. If that were part of issue 1 of a larger, broader story, that'd be interesting. But we know that can't be the case. So there's also a little bit of disappointment.
It's very disappointing to me. I don't know. I don't like Gwen Stacy. This is my Spider-Man hot take. I do not think that she was Peter's true love. Read Spider-Man Blue, and everyone uses that as their body of evidence to support that theory. Read it again. It does not. It, in fact, does not support that. So I have my grievance there. And I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
It's just
Well, then let's move on to the next one, which is Mysterio versus Superman, featuring The Thing. The Thing was the best part of this, I think.
He was, and I love the little arc that he goes on that kind of Superman gives him in this one. It's Gary Frank does an excellent job on his art. I have nostalgia for looking at Gary Frank art from reading Superman's Secret Origin back in the day, and also I have nostalgia from Geoff Johns writing for like every DC thing to come out of the 2000s. Yeah. So it gets extra points for me because of the nostalgia.
Yeah. It also gets a lot of extra points from me because of the grander team up that was happening in the background of the Avengers and the Justice League, kind of both teaming up individually, but then also coming together, like both groups, both teams teaming up together. It was in the background. It wasn't the main part of it, but it was fun, and it does bring it up a little bit in my book.
And it does give you some good art to look at while we go through this story.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is what is needed in the crossover. Like, you can do whatever kind of dialogue or writing you want and whatever story you want to tell. Give your artists some stuff to do.
Absolutely.
Let them show off.
Absolutely,
in a crossover.
Like, this needs to be something that you're looking at it and you're like, that's the thing I know from this, and that's the thing I know from this, because it's a crossover, right? The Easter eggs essentially need to be abundant, and in this one they were abundant. So again, The Thing was a massive highlight of this, and the Easter eggs of all these different people in the background. This is pretty good. So then we'll move on to Hobgoblin versus Steel.
Yes. So on paper, I should really love this one because this features Steel, who is one of my top 10 favorite DC characters, and also at the end features Thor, who is one of my top 10 Marvel characters. I don't know. Yeah. Louise Simonson, she does a great job writing this, but I mean, it just exists.
It's also just 5 pages, which isn't very helpful.
It's not very long, and it's cool. I'm glad we have it, but I feel like you could do more with it. Yeah. You know, especially,
the only thing that I pulled from it was Thor.
The only thing that you pulled.
That literally,
so real.
Not even joking. That's all I got from it. Yeah. So I'm not gonna talk anymore. That was it.
I don't know. I feel like you could have done a whole bit where it was Steel and Thor working together against Hobgoblin instead of the handoff at the end, you know. And so I mean, it's disappointing to me, but it's not the worst one.
Yeah. So then we'll move on to Ghost Spider and Supergirl. And Ghost Spider, I guess, I didn't know this. That's just Spider-Gwen.
Spider-Gwen, yes. That's her. They renamed her after she's incorporated into the main Marvel universe.
Okay. So I didn't know that, but it's essentially Spider-Gwen if you also didn't know that, like me. This one I thought was fun. That's all I took away from it. I think right after reading it, I was like, oh, I kind of enjoyed the story of this one too. But now I don't even remember the story. So
I don't know. This just exists in the ether for me, and I know someone in the comments is gonna be like, Judah only doesn't like the stories that prominently feature women. That's not true.
Judah, how dare you?
Because in the last video, I highlighted Mary Jane and Lois Lane, so it's not that. But this is just kind of I feel like there's more that could be done with Supergirl and Ghost Spider crossing over.
Yeah, what I really enjoyed was essentially Ghost Spider, Spider-Gwen was very much looking up to Supergirl. And first of all, I also enjoy that like they basically just take it as fact that these two universes are the same when you're reading through these crossover comics. So first of all, she already knows who Supergirl is, and she looks up to her. And then at the very end, we get a handwritten note from Supergirl to Spider-Gwen / Ghost Spider, which I appreciated. And like it's humanizing, and I appreciate that. It's great. But other than that, I don't actually remember much of the story.
Yeah.
That moves us on then to Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and Superman. This one like a lot more.
It's peak.
It's good.
I love seeing Bendis return to both these characters. I don't like his run on Superman. I absolutely adore his run on Miles Morales. So it's very interesting to see like his interpretation of both these characters meet. I thought it was good. Sara Pichelli does a fantastic job. Her art is nearly immaculate. Yeah. And it's fun. Like, Brainiac and Dormammu teaming up, who would have come up with that?
Yeah.
That's
my highlight from this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is really good. I think it may be the best backup story. Like, that might be the takeaway.
It really is. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a great crossover between both the heroes and the villains in this one. A lot of great art in this one. The art across the board was really good, but this one definitely a standout art. I just enjoyed it. There's not much more I can say except this was peak.
Yes.
So then we'll move on to Symbiotes in Metropolis. I don't even... Oh, I do actually. Okay. I don't remember much except that it's
I like Wonder Woman being in here.
Yeah, I agree. And there's also a bit of a team up again on the last page, and that's Darkseid, right?
Yes. I don't know. It's a weird looking old Darkseid.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like modern Darkseid.
It's again, the team up aspect is good and the Easter egg aspect is good, but other than that, like, and also potentially the Thor 3 movie kind of ruining Jane Foster for me a little bit. It's like I don't care that much. So we'll move on.
Yeah, so we will move on. My one takeaway is DC, who's Wonder Woman crossing over with? And Marvel, who's Wonder Woman crossing over with? And when is that coming out?
Yeah.
Can we get, like, I don't know, Wonder Woman Captain America, Wonder Woman Iron Man, I don't know who like, we've had...
It'd be absolutely wonderful if we got an absolute crossover with Marvel.
That would be
like, absolute Wonder Woman?
Or absolute Wonder Woman Ultimate Spider-Man.
Dude, oh my gosh, yeah, like the side universe tie-in or crossovers, that'd be so cool. That'd be really cool. They should do that.
They should do that. Anyway, final story. We have Superman Spider-Man yet again, this time from Jeph Loeb and Cheung, and we shouted him out when we mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
His art is great in here. And I love this one. Because
it's so good.
This is Superman coming to buy Spider-Man after the death of Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
And it is so excellent. Like, I haven't read this peak of Jeph Loeb writing in years, like maybe even decades, since Jeph Loeb has written something this good. It was great. The art was great, and I don't have any complaints that there weren't any other characters in the story or that there was no action.
No.
It was just that good.
Such good character moments between the two of them, and I mentioned to Juju just before we started recording that it seemed like it was kind of a continuation of not the story per se, but the universe of the main issue that was part of this, of the Spider-Man Superman crossover. That this was just like, okay, maybe time has passed, the same things aren't going on, but these are the same characters. It really did seem like that to me, and I think that that's a massive benefit to this issue, that it's kind of a bookend, and it's really good. It's really sad that it's only 2 pages.
It is.
But it's really good.
They could have done something bigger and more beautiful with it.
Yeah. But overall, it was really good.
Peak.
So for the first issue, the main thing, Spider-Man, Superman, what is your rating out of 10?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. I agree. 9 out of 10. What about just the tie-ins?
7.5.
I would say probably closer to 7.
Yeah.
And as a whole, then averaging those out, although it's not going to be a perfect average, what did you think?
7.5 plus 9 divided by 2. It's like 8.5.
That's not quite how math works.
It's like 8.25.
Considering it was...
if we're being... Actually, let me stick up my glasses.
Well, it's not dividing by 2, though. It's dividing by, 8. But
I'm aware.
In terms of page count, I guess it is closer to 2.
Yeah.
I would probably say somewhere around the 8. 8.25. You said 8.25. That right? That sounds right. That really does sound right, because they do kind of bring down the average a fair amount. They really do.
It's kind of frustrating, because I feel like with the first one we covered, the crossover is not only like the main crossover of the DC one was peak, but the backups brought it up. You know, and then this one, it's the reverse. It kind of, yeah.
I think
Marvel
I don't remember exactly what my rating was. I think that they did still bring it down a little bit, but only because they couldn't possibly be as peak as the main story was.
That's true.
Not necessarily because they were all not as good as this one. So this one does drag it down a little bit more with kind of the follow-up issues. But there were some good moments in there. There were good Easter eggs and things like that I think is important for something like this, because like you don't get to do this very often, where you can have all these characters in this same panel with each other. Yeah. And so I think they took advantage of that very well. I think they did that a little bit better than the DC side did, probably because Marvel hasn't been doing as great, and so they kind of needed a reason for people to buy this, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah, that's very real.
So taking advantage of the IP while they can, it's good. Yeah, they should do that. And DC should have done it better, but DC doesn't necessarily need to do it as much as Marvel does right now.
Because DC has, 33% of the market, which is insane.
Which is crazy.
Like, I don't think DC has cornered... I don't think anyone's cornered that much of the market since Image first came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild. So, Marvel, this was good. Do more stuff like this. Hire more of the people on this. Put Pepe Larraz on more art. And that's the takeaway.
Overall, you should buy it.
Yeah,
it's good.
Overall, you should buy it. It's worth the read.
Absolutely.
Anyway, with that being said, beverage shout out, Kirk. I get to shout out next episode, so that's
okay. I'm gonna say we're gonna go the beer route again, which I think we've only done once or twice before.
Yeah, we're hesitant to do that because we don't want our audience to be alcoholics like us.
Like we are. Yeah, I'll say the Creature Comforts. Wait, no, sorry, not Creature Comforts. What is it?
Not Creature Comforts.
What's
I don't
it called? Wait, no, I'm stupid.
He's had so much to drink today that he can't even remember what it's called. What is it?
It's Twisted Tea Light. I'm gonna give the shout out for Twisted Tea Light because I accidentally bought it. I was trying to get the regular ones. I accidentally bought the pack of that, and they're pretty good. You tried one. It was good.
Did. It was. It's
various flavors, so take your pick, I guess. Yeah. So if you're drinking that, shout out to you.
Shout out to you.
Drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly. Good morning.
Good evening.
And good night. God bless.